Welcome back to the I Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on one of the greatest human beings you ever want to meet. He's a very sweet guy, and when you talk to him, you feel like you've known him all your life, and he's definitely had that effect on me as well. Roger Williams from the Squatchin Holler is on with us today, and we're just gonna introduce you guys to him. If you don't already know who he is, we're gonna throw some links up for you. We're gonna give Roger a lot of love. I really enjoy what he's doing over there on his channel, as well as his research that he gets into. He knows a lot of cool stuff and everything. He's a lot of fun to talk to. So I couldn't think of anybody else to have on the channel better than Roger for this specific Friday. So if you keep finding yourself coming back to the channel, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to it. You can also find me on Rumble and anywhere you download your podcast. You can also get some merchandise. All those links, and as well as Roger's, are in the description below. So with all the homework done, please let's welcome to the I Jupiter podcast, Roger Williams.
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I want to meet this guy you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll send you his information, dude.
All right, now, who's this dude? No.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm glad to. I appreciate it. We talk so much Bigfoot and stuff. It's nice to talk about some other things because all of us have had some that gather together with these shows have had weird stuff happen. So it's not just one thing. And I feel like if we talk about them, we may find a connection somewhere, why they all happen to us. So.
Hey, you got yourself a subscriber. So Denise already subscribed. Thank you so much, Denise. We appreciate that. There we go. That's that right there. The whole hour for Ree is already awesome. Like, absolutely. I'm going to have a good time no matter what. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And like I tell people, I have no ego. If you get in there and watch a couple of shows and you don't like it, it's not going to hurt my feelings. We're not, we take the subject seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So
yeah, that's important. It's important. I think a lot, there's certain entities and certain people in this field that can be a certain way. Hi, Tim. Tim is not one of them. Tim is awesome. Hello, Tim. And it didn't be to pull you up at the same time I say that to have like some backhanded remark, but no, hi Tim. Tim from the Ohio State Researchers, guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of, when you're doing this and you're trying to create a name, have a name for yourself, but as well as people, like, if they're interested in the subject and someone who's had the experiences that you've had and do the research that you have, you're going to still find people who are just going to be upset with you because you can't make everyone happy. So I understand that, dude. Oh, well, hello, Mr. Greg Hoare. I don't know.
Greg, hey, he's one of my best friends. He's
all right.
He's on Woodwalkers. Yeah, him and Misty and Spencer do Woodwalkers, and heck, I probably talked to him for 4 hours on the phone today. And I don't know what y'all don't listen to anything he says.
So Roger, please do me a favor, like introduce yourself a little bit, tell people a little bit about yourself and where they can find the things that you do.
All right. Roger Williams. I grew up in rural southern middle Tennessee, close to the Alabama line, and I grew up thinking weird stuff happened to everybody, I guess, because early on we lived in a haunted house. I was so young I didn't know really what that was, but I know the grown-ups were freaking out a little bit, and I know I had some experiences, and then I saw the Bigfoot and later, and then then here comes a UFO, and all of this is not like, I think I just saw a UFO. It was definitive, like that definitely was a UFO. And same way with some of these paranormal experiences. And like Greg says, sometimes if I told you all the stuff that might have been something, we could sit here for days. But what I tell is stuff that I'm like, I laid my eyes on it, my mind, I was awake, and I know for sure, deja vu. I had small bits of deja vu growing up. And so I went on a podcast to talk about Bigfoot just a couple years ago, and it made me feel so good to do that and get that off of me. I had questions. This guy said, "Hey, you want to co-host?" And I'm like, "Sure." Well, I had tons of questions, and as a co-host, you kind of, you're limited in what questions you can ask. So some people talked me into doing it on my own, and we like to on Squatchin Holler on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I have fun on TikTok. We do all stupid stuff, But the Chinese haven't come got me yet, but they might. They know where I'm at. But we
that they probably do know.
Yeah, they know. Yeah, Timo. I told Greg. I was like, you know what? Order this tactical stuff off of Timo. They know where their storage is. They they know to come to Roger's house if they ever invade and they can grab some stuff. So anyway, but no. So we do mostly Bigfoot. We let we tell our stories, and we let people tell their stories is the main thing. But every now and then we'll throw in a show like Tom does. It could be some ghost, or it could be UFOs in combined, or just whatever. And I've got a new co-host, Amanda, and she works at the Bigfoot Museum in North Georgia, and her friend are big into all of this. So I thought maybe once a month we'd offer a weird show, so to speak, if Bigfoot's not weird enough. But here's what we find, Tom, and you know this better than I do. But your show, I mean, this. You can go into Bigfoot 100% flesh and blood thinking, like I did, and as you dig into it and dig into it and dig into it, start finding all of these different similarities of other things and these connections, and the people come in, and a lot of people in the chat. I know Forrest Friend contacted me, I don't know, a year and a half ago when I was on the other show, and asked me to look at some pictures. And actually, that's kind of how it started, where people are asking for help, And so just we try to entertain while helping out too. So, comedy, laughing is very important for health. I think it's mental health, overall health. And so we do some shows sometimes with Greg and Misty, and Misty's listening. But Greg, we do it's off of the Woodwalkers, umbrellaed under the Woodwalkers, called Night Owls, and it's late night. It's you have language mornings, and we just tell stories from our past,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
and just like being on the back porch drinking tea or beer or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
But
like
that's
it's
that's
kind of like
what we're all
sitting around the
about.
campfire and like
Yes,
just
absolutely.
chewing the rag with your buddies. Yeah, dude, that's like one of the best parts of being an outdoorsman. And mostly these. I mean, you have to be outdoors for the most part. I have heard of them being in people's backyards and stuff too.
Oh, oh, you talking about the
Uh,
Bigfoot?
yeah, yeah. Shout out
Greg,
to Tim Grayhard's wife Renee. She was thinking, yeah, he actually broke down the fence.
Greg,
Yeah.
my buddy Greg here lives butted up to the Bankhead National Forest in Alabama.
Oh wow.
I found me
Again,
and my son have found tracks. We found hairs on the door. They've been on top of his man cave. Uh, and they're yeah, he's had a lot of researchers come down. We don't do calling, we don't agitate them and then leave him there with them. But he has to share his hunting place, his hunting spots, and his home or his home away from home with these things. So, yeah, definitely. Hey,
yeah,
I
I was
don't
talking to Darren Franks. He was also hunting, I think in the '90s, I believe, or the late or the mid '80s. I think the '90s actually in Bankhead and ran across like a gray one, like completely. I think he's trying to muster up the ability, through telling his story because Darren,
yeah,
Daryl Denton contacted me and said, "Hey, man, this guy has a story he wants to put out. Please get in contact with him." I was like, "Absolutely, let's
yeah,
go." And ever since then, man, me and him, he got me in contact with like just the concept of connecting with MK Davis because he's such a good friend, like not a good friend, but he really respects and enjoy MK's work. And he was like, "You need to have him on." And then just because of that, and that like so, Bankhead Forest and helping people it's kind of what you do, people just getting on the show and speaking their mind, telling what they saw
yeah,
helps them immensely.
and you can have and see you people that are in chat. I know we got people watching that never comment. So I'm gonna talk to y'all for a second. We've had friends that have been lurkers, and then they finally get an account. They get where they can chat, and then they'll
It's
come
happened.
on Woodwalkers. And one guy we know, Flat Rock, down in South Alabama, is in the same situation Greg's in, and the evidence that he's shown us, he'll show us video, he'll send audio, and he's really comfortable in his own skin. If I say Flat Rock, not sure about that one. Okay, he don't get upset because he's trying to figure this out. But heck, he ended up being on stage speaking at a conference in Alabama this past
Right.
year. You
Right.
don't know where this is going to lead, and and me and Greg will talk. We'll tell the same story to each other, but it's a little bit of well, no, I'm not a little bit. It's therapy. It's like you reliving it without be having the stress of it. I guess but
Yeah. I think it's too. It's kind of like the AA for people who have like ran across these things in a way.
no,
So hi, my name is John, and this is my story, and
exactly.
and then I started to, and then the next person, then one person says, because of it and talking to people, I started researching, and the other guy's like, I did too. And what are you finding? What am I finding? And without
Yeah,
any help from the quote unquote scientific community, we've actually found out a great deal about these things. But the more it seems we find out about them, the less informed we seem to be, actually, in many cases.
well, you can. The reason it's important to talk to Joe down the street about this, he might not have a degree in anything, but he might have seen something you never thought of as far as
Right.
evidence wise to tell you something about the anatomy of this thing. And I've heard things that was told that made things make sense that I've seen. Like, well, how did they do that? Well, then all of a sudden you hear a little tidbit from somebody, and you're like, well, you know what? If that's the case, that would make this other thing possible. So it's just sharing those puzzle pieces to put it all
Yeah.
together, and then then people start telling these wild stories that I thought was wild at first, and as they're telling them, I start thinking, wait a minute, that happened to me, but whatever, and it took. I was more. It was easier for me to tell my Bigfoot story, and stories later that happened later in life. It's happening now than it was for me to talk about the ghost stuff for at first. And so I saw the Chapel Hill light. I told you as 18 years old, we'd been there a couple of times. It's a legend. If some of y'all have got ink pens, pencils close by, write down the Chapel Hill light in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Read that legend, and it's full. If you read the legend, it's full of somebody that was writing that probably hasn't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was scared to go. The first time we didn't see anything, and the second time, like I said, it left no doubt. I've got a description that when I see a YouTube video pop up every now and then, like, oh, we saw the Chapel Hill light, and I'll look at it and I'm like, no, you didn't. That's not it.
Yeah,
So
it's quite amazing. Like I don't know what it is about this particular channel. I guess connecting with one person connects me to other people in that area, but I don't know what it is about Tennessee.
mhm.
It has a lot of stuff. I mean, if you just between the Bell Witch, the Chapel Hill lights, and then everything that's happening over in the Smoky Mountains with the 411
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
So,
Sasquatch
so think,
sightings, it's an incredible
sorry.
place.
So
No,
think
no,
about
no problem.
this. Well, we wonder about it too. I mean, that's what we get into, like, because with Greg and Flat Rock and all those guys and gals down in Alabama, they have certain things going on, and up here we have, of course, the Bigfoot in certain areas that are more fit for that type of being or whatever. But as far as the weirdness, we've all talked about the ley lines, the
Oh yeah, I
Tennessee.
even forgot that.
Tennessee is one of the. I saw this the other day, and whether it's true or not, it said Tennessee has the most caves is than any other state. Now, Kentucky probably has some of the longest caves, but we're all sitting on this big ball of limestone. So it's perfect for caves. And my wife's family's property, their crevice is so deep. If you went walking by yourself and fell off in one, they might not ever find you. So, and
Yeah,
it's in an old river bottom, right? There's a pretty good sized river, but back in the day, the rivers were bigger and wider, covered more area, and topsoil is almost non-existent. But um, so you have maybe entrances to things, maybe the granite or we find the what is it, the things that you break open that has the crystal inside or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Garnets, I think they're called.
so and we find out that these crystals and stuff they use in computers to store information. Like the crystal skulls, you listen to those, and so you've got these rocks just laying around everywhere in the creeks and that have all this material in there. It's the same thing. So now I sound crazy. I know I sound crazy, but we're trying to make connections. And what makes me mad, Tom, you might agree with
What's that?
this. I believe we all, as a people of the whole planet, knew all this before, and it's been hidden so many times. We have to keep relearning this stuff. We have to keep literally digging it back up
Yeah,
and relearning it
that's
because
perfectly segued. I'm running this new section of the channel that I call updates and reports, and it's about that new. It's not ground penetrating radar. It's something similar, but it did it
yeah,
from a satellite because, of course, in Egypt the area doesn't let you go over and do any type of scientific research. You have to
right,
pretend that you're I'm just a tourist, and you're in
right,
there. Turns around the corner, you grab your measuring tape and start measuring some block or something. Yeah, but they
yeah,
found this incredible like structure that goes
mhm,
like twice the size of the Eiffel Tower, and then underneath them was two football field like blocks, and then there's these caverns that go within they go for like 2 miles, 2 kilometers. I can't remember exactly, and it's just so insane. And it kind of they're gonna have to. I don't know if Egypt has as of yet made a statement hit by lightning. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's just it's
yeah,
just one of those things that, like you're saying, like we're relearning. Like I think Graham Hancock says we are a species with amnesia, and I think that's
yeah.
really interesting. So who knows,
Look,
man?
Tom, I never told many people this, but the Hawk Tua thing, that the girl that went, listen, no, check this
I'm
out.
laughing because I got to know how this connection is going to go.
Right,
I know you're a
right,
pro. You're doing some heavy lifting right now, but
right.
I'm going to enjoy the next minute.
So, so that girl is from here, and she is kin to my
Okay.
son and daughter,
Oh,
and her family's just like that, just funny, funny all the time, being goofy, and that just the timing when that hit or whatever. And my son texted me and said, "Hey, Haley, Haley was in Nashville and got interviewed. Now it's going crazy." Well, but you're talking about the amnesia part. So she didn't get in trouble because she didn't know what was going on. They created a meme coin and they rug pulled and cheated a bunch of people out of the money. But what they did, she laid low for 3 months and now she's back.
uh-huh.
So that we have short memories, and that's politicians do the same thing. Actors and actresses do the same thing. They can stay out of the public eye for a while, and sports people that mess up, and then we forget. There's so much going on, but there's so much. We're so inundated with headlines that they make us forget.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they put you on this treadmill and they put you on it and like, what happened? Okay. For example, the stuff that was happening over Jersey and the rest of the United States, as far as
Right?
I know, that's still going on. As far as I know, this is still happening,
They
but
just
eh,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it
we
just
saw
things
one.
just pop up. Oh, did you?
We Tom, we were riding down the road in the middle of all that here in Lewisburg, Tennessee, and I saw something over Lewisburg, and I thought that plane's flying awful low, and it was massive, and so we went towards it, and as we get to the west side of town, I can see it. I'm like, oh my god, that looks like a car flying. It came almost over the top of us. We got a good look at it. It was just very few feet off the ground. It was big as my Challenger. It was about the
Oh
same
my God.
size, and it had lights at the corners protruding out where I assumed maybe the fans were. I couldn't see them. It was just right before pitch dark, but it was headed towards the local airport, the small airport, and it was not an airplane. I was under the belly of it looking up. It was the biggest drone. Now I did get on the internet and start, of course, after that, trying to find something that looked similar, and they do sell. They're expensive. They do sell those things to the public, but I don't know how rich you'd have to be to have it. You know,
Right. Are you sharing this simultaneously like you said you would?
I no, I did it. I did it in a couple groups before, just before.
Wow, dude. There's a whole bunch of new faces here.
Yeah.
David,
Hey, there's
Denise,
some.
Misty, and
Yep.
I don't know.
Misty,
Oh, Serafina, that's my girlfriend.
little twisted,
She's over
little
there.
twisted.
Oh
So,
wow, everyone. Greg, your friend Greg. This is a lot
yeah,
of this
David.
is awesome.
David's helped me with my show tremendously.
Well,
He's
this is
from
awesome.
Coos Bay, Oregon,
Hmm.
and he's had UFO encounters and big time, like them coming down and interacting with him, and like pterodactyl up in Oregon. He's got some stories now, and he
Okay,
just
dude, have him contact me. Or
yeah,
give me the information after the show in the green room, and I will contact him because that is interesting to me. You already
yeah,
the pterodactyl stuff. That is some.
yeah.
I heard that mainly like Arizona, New Mexico. I
You
haven't heard the Oregon part of it yet.
what
That's
you
interesting.
think? A lot of people try to tie him into the old Thunderbirds. Um,
What
and
the actual Thunderbird guys, not the Pontiac.
right, yeah, V8, yeah, little portal window and whatever.
Yeah,
But
who the Smoking the Bandits.
yeah, hey, Catherine,
Yeah, man.
we've got a lot of people coming in from the Woodwalkers group.
Hi, welcome
But yeah,
everybody.
they're
Glad
we've
to have
got
you guys.
we've got a
Awesome.
core group of people, um, and we've talked about growing organically, and I've got like 2,200 subscribers, and Woodwalkers have almost 3,000, but we'll get 1,500 to, you know, they'll get almost 3,000 views. So the people that are actually subscribing are actually
That's
watching
awesome.
the show.
That means
So
they're
that
doing
ratio is
yeah.
blows my mind. So these people really, they watch every show too. So
That's cool.
they,
I'm at the like 1270, something like that.
it's hard.
1207. It's
It's
hard,
hard.
man.
It is. It's tough.
It's and
But
you'd be like, once you get to 1,000, you're like, okay, I made it. Like that first initial fight to break through is
yeah,
such a, and then you feel like this exhilaration, and then you go, man, I have so much farther to go, which is great. But at the same time, it's like, one here, 10 there, lose 3 or 4 for
yeah.
God knows why.
And, and you'll reach a milestone, like you'll get the number, you'll be like 392, and it'll hold off for weeks. It's like they're almost checking you, like make sure you're not doing anything, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you'll go from 392 to 411. You know,
Yeah.
and I've had people tell me that they do that. They every time you reach something, a certain spot, they'll review everything. Everybody, I just got my YouTube ankle bracelet taken off, so I'm back. I'm back with the regular folks now. They had me in YouTube jail for 3 months. So
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I hope they change that too. I mean, these things. It's a public forum in which we do things, and it doesn't fall underneath free speech and all that. I don't know, man. I totally disagree with it.
I will.
Yeah.
We
Sure. No. I totally disagree with it. But I'm not a political scientist, and Roger is just a mechanic or whatever, and he doesn't.
Yeah,
know much.
we're not experts on anything. So
No, nothing. We don't know crap.
yeah.
Wow, who's
Cam's like 3
Catherine?
months.
Hello, Catherine. This is incredible.
And a lot of these people, Tom, we've met at meet and greets. Like we've had people drive. David flew in from Utah. I mean, no, that's another guy. David flew in from Oregon. We had people. We're at the Land Between the Lakes, and we had over 100 people there, and they were from Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Ohio, West Virginia, Florida. Catherine and her husband came in from Ohio and met us, and they're just great bunch of people.
Well, God willing, whenever I'm able to support myself, it will be somebody who lives in Mexico coming up and join you guys.
Oh, there you go.
I got that passport, baby. I'm permanent resident here, and United States citizenship. I might be doing dual citizenship too. I'm going to see if that's a possibility, so it's easier for me to get in and out of here from with my daughter.
Well, you're living the dream right now, ain't you?
I don't know, man. I took the day off because I'm 45, Roger, and yesterday I was digging a pool that's, I don't know, I think it's about maybe 25 feet long and maybe 15 feet wide. And we're digging down about 4 feet, and then we're going to put a rim on it, an edge on it, so make it about a 6-foot pool. Right. And you do that in 98-degree weather with a pickaxe and shovel and buckets with a bunch of Mexican people. Today I called my friend. He has a project. He goes, "Hey, I need your help." I called. I said, "I can't come in today. I am sore.
I'm hurting." Yeah,
man. But
and be careful because it'll. I'm 54 and just had a hip replacement, so that hard work.
That's right, dude.
How did
that? Yeah, you were down there for a minute, dude. How did that work out for you?
I'm better. I've got some issues that the doctor's concerned with. As far the hip is actually good. It's like tissue around it that's doing some weird things. So he might have to go in and fix some stuff. But
Alfred Santoriga is here, guys.
Hey, Al.
Next week we're gonna have Alfred on next week. We're gonna get into some. I think Dogman. We're gonna do some Dogman.
Al makes it easy on you. Al's got so many stories. You're gonna sit back and just enjoy him.
He just told me a one-day event where he was around some lake in I don't think it's upstate New York, but it's like once you get out of the city, somewhere's up farther north there. And it was 2014, 15, something like that. And it was like the night before Halloween. And basically everything happened that day. I mean, other than maybe like a crawler or something he didn't have. Maybe he's just kept that away from me. But he's well-versed. Al's an awesome dude. He has a great, what's it called? The Bronxville Paranormal. I believe that's his brand. He's a cool guy, and he will be on with us next week, if I ain't mistaken. Let me make sure I don't talk around that.
Little history. Al didn't remember it, and we were laughing about it last night a little bit. I had this UFO experience when I was like 17, and it took me 30-something years for something to hit me. When it left, clear sky and all that, I may have told it on your show before, but it went straight up into the stars, just as quicker than light. And that was, what do you call that? A paradigm shifting or shattering moment. Like uh,
Yeah. Yes.
it didn't go north, south, east, or west. It went up in a night sky. So anyway, no clouds at all. About October. So I was co-hosting the other show, and we came on late because me and Al were talking. Al thought we were live, but I asked him. I said, Al, it's taken me 30-something years for this question. I said, I shoot a lot, and I understand the sonic booms and the speed of sound and all that, and it just hit me. This thing left so fast, I should have heard a sonic boom. I've seen the
Right.
airplane way slower, the fighter jets with the sonic boom. I've seen that in Panama City on the down, where they have the bases down there in Florida and Santa Rosa Island and all that.
Right.
And why? I said, Al, why didn't I hear a sonic boom? This has just hit me in past couple weeks. He said, Roger, if you look at the TikTok video and you see that looks like a cold pocket around it, because they're using heat to see this thing, but there's a cold protective pocket around it. He said, we think they're manipulating the atmosphere so it doesn't react like it would normally. So
Like there's a vacuum force field kind of thing. Okay.
so it can move through the atmosphere without our atmosphere following the laws of physics, so to speak, that we're used to. That's why that's why they can reach speeds underwater like that too, I would imagine. So
Yeah, and then there's the story. Then there's those things where they're coming out of the water. There's the things where
yeah,
they're going in the water, out of the water, in the water, out of the water. So it's not like the would you say the material in which this thing is traveling in is directly affecting the quote unquote hull. And
you
so guys, Al, next week, same time, same channel. Al Santoriga is going to come on, guys.
you want me to blow your mind a
Hatfield
little
Phillips
bit?
is here. Hatfield, hi buddy. William Hatfield. Go check out his. He does. Hey, dude, this guy is he's a new he's a filmmaker, and he goes out in the woods by himself, and he's starting to make like these pretty freaking good films about Bigfoot and stuff. He's in Southern Indiana. Cool guy too. So it's all right there in that whole Appalachia area. So it's so interesting.
There's plenty of weirdness here, that's for sure. And people don't realize, they think Appalachia, however you want to say it, they think East Tennessee, North Carolina, West Virginia. They don't realize the length. I mean, it goes deep into Alabama.
Right.
As far north, I don't even know how far north. I guess as far
I
as you
think
can go.
up into Canada, really, actually, all the way up and
Yeah.
through Maine into Canada. But
So
even the Ozarks are like that whole Ozark area is very similar to Appalachia in like its culture and its myths and mysteries. Like there's a lot of things like connected to Appalachia, like the large like birds and Mothman and witches and all kind of stuff. It's a weird area. Maine, thank
look,
you.
so my son comes on with me sometimes. He helps me out, and he was over at one of his friends' house, and he doesn't laugh at him. He respects him about the Bigfoot stuff. But Peyton just thought didn't want to know anything about it. One night they were having sipping on some good bourbon and playing some college football
Mm-hmm.
games, on the PlayStation. And he said, "Man," he said, "what kind of weird stuff y'all hear?" And he started telling him some things that reports we took. And so this guy proceeds to tell him he's his age. He lived backed up to that small airport I was talking about, and there was about a 10-foot fence surrounding this airport. And then it didn't have the razor wire, but it had how they'll have it leaning out in the barbed wire.
The barbed wire at the top of the
Yeah,
three. Yeah.
and it leans so you can't climb up. So
Yeah, I used to actually be a fence installer, but when I was 15 to 18 in the summer, I had a summer job. So
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I used to install all of that stuff, even razor ribbon.
So this guy proceeds to tell him, well, I've never told anybody this, but I was in the backyard when I was young. We lived in that house, and I heard something. It sounded like air rushes of air. He said he
Okay.
turned around, and he looked, and it was about to get dark, and he looked at he looked in the area of the fence, and the airplanes, nothing was there. There's not a lot of traffic, just every now and then, right? Said he turned around and looked, and he said this man looking thing with wings that was leathery, looking like a bat, with two legs landed on that fence, and it went through, it mashed that wire down and bent the top rail. The weight bent the top rail
Whoa.
down, and it's looking at him, and he runs in the house screaming. And of course, when they come back, the thing's gone, and he's trying
Yeah.
to explain it, and but there was damage to the fence that wasn't
Right.
there when he went out, and he couldn't have done it. So I said, I said, Tommy told you that? He said, yeah. I said, man, he's so reserved, and I never would have. He said, well, Daddy, he said, I guess um, he just felt comfortable with me because I listened to people's weird stories all the time, and he's had some weird stuff happen to him too.
Oh,
We've been
your boy.
together, yeah,
Your
my
boy.
son.
Your son.
So,
Yeah.
but see, that's another uh, because we had the show we do. Um, that guy felt comfortable sharing with him, and he wouldn't have told that out in public. And I'm not going to mention his name. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you get those. You probably also get those. Sometimes you get an email because I put my email out there with the Eye of Jupiter podcast at gmail.com.
mhm.
I'll put that out there for stories, or you just want to write me and talk to me. We can do that as well. And sometimes people would just send me like, "Hey Tom, this," and they'll never, you know what I mean. They just wanted to tell somebody, and
Yep.
they can be pretty intense sometimes. And sometimes you have to kind of like write them back to see if they're okay. And every time actually so far it's been like, yeah, I mean, are you okay? How's this? And it's a lot to keep up on too. People will like, send you like, have you seen this video? Have you looked at
Yeah.
this? What are your thoughts on
Yep.
this and that? And it gets to a point where it's almost impossible to keep up with.
It,
And it's like, I
yeah.
can't imagine a podcast with like 10,000 subs. You need a team to
Oh,
do that.
and just with our small show, I have people all the time. Like you said, I'll wake up and there'll be my messenger's so full now that I try to look at all of them, but then I get long emails, and some of them I intend on reading. There's one now I'm going to read that uh, a guy sent from South Alabama, and I told him just put it in email form and I would read it. I'm going to read it this weekend, but you can't read all of them, you can't watch all of them. But I do, Tom, feel like I do. A lot of people in chat, they see me in other shows in chat, and the reason I'm doing that, I'm not being nosy. I'm trying to figure out what's happened to me too, but also I love interacting with everybody and supporting other
Oh yeah.
shows. And, it's just it's like gathering with some of your friends. There could be
It's so
three
amazing.
people. There could be
Yeah. I
three
mean,
people in chat.
I have a very small group. It's like, my buddy Jim, Magic, and Pam. There's like, these are like, and Paul. He's with the, with Tex and Paul, Blondes and Booze,
Yeah,
friend, very great podcast guys. Go over and chat. It's basically
yeah.
a podcast network. I don't think they've named it. They're just kind of like a conglomeration. And
Mhm.
these people, like especially that small group of people, have been, they're right here right now. Pamela's here, and so is Magical. They're just you learn a lot about people who think this weird stuff that people are seeing. You know what I mean? And then talk about that. And we get like, we're like really close friends, like all of us. Like
Mhm.
Pam says, "Hey, I need you to sort South Dakota right now. If I could get there." Hey, Al, now Al's here for real. What's up, buddy? And I would go there like immediately. And like the connections that we're making on these shows are much more than I expected when I started it.
Well, let me ask you this. So, if you have people that had things happen to them, and I've had things, so I've started digging in with and asking people and interviewing people and whatever. Now I got to thinking, like, what am I doing? Am I really trying to figure this out, or am I doing this for entertainment for myself to kill time, whatever? Then you get to looking at different things. So here I'm gonna tell you something about me.
Okay.
Greg brought up lightning strike. I haven't been struck by lightning, but I've missed lightning strikes twice. It was coming. Okay, and that's my
Okay.
hair stood up. My hair stood up. I had hold of a metal door, and the witnesses. The hair stood up all over my body, and I looked around. There was a transformer just on the edge of the building, real close to us outside. This summer storm came up, and we're looking at it. And this guy, I reached and grabbed him and yelled at him to get back, get back, get back, get back. And right as we let go of the handle, the lightning hit the transformer. Well, I'm like, woo, man, I'm glad, glad that didn't get us. And when I turn around, everybody in the store is looking at me like, how did you know that was about to happen? I asked the guys like,
Intuition.
didn't you hear your whole, like, all the air body? And hunter safety course, they told us we feel that get as low as possible, as quick as possible. So it took me a second to recognize it, but it might have saved us, right? Well, now Greg and all these people that we're friends with, they have been struck by lightning. A lot of them have these strange things happen. Now,
Also get struck by lightning.
they've been struck by lightning. They have these or near death experiences or whatever. And now,
okay.
Here's where I'm
Please
at.
Contact me, guys. Please contact me.
I started digging in. Like, okay, I got to look at myself too. So here's what I found out in the past 2 months. I have O negative blood.
Okay.
Yep, I didn't know that.
Is it,
read into what O negative?
Did I ask you? Did I ask you about that?
No, I didn't know. When I talked to you, I didn't know.
Okay, that's we had a whole show on that. The Foreign and Forbidden. We had a whole show about O negative blood and its implications.
Will you send me that link?
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's I think it's, I can't remember. Hey, Pam, if you get a chance, Pam, could you grab that for me?
You send it. Send it to me in Messenger.
I'll send it to you because I don't know if we did that on, because it bounces around between the 3 shows. Which is kind of like, so everyone gets a little love and a little bit, we spread the wealth, So I don't remember if it was on my channel or one of the other 2. So yeah, we talked about that whole thing, and it's basically like if you're the Basque region of France, like on the border with Andorra there, that whole region, like I think like 60% of the people there have the RH negative thing going on in their blood. So
it shockingly appeared in the human timeline just all of a sudden. They don't know where it come from.
Right. And these people, guys, that give it, like, since, Roger brought it up, basically these people, like, who have this, like Roger and alike, they seem to be a little more privy to these experiences, whether it be paranormal, cryptid, all kind of connected in a way to it. It's just a fascinating little thing that us over here on this side of the, on this side of the screen have kind of slowly through time picked up. Yeah, there it is. I'm RH. Here's another one. They're everywhere, guys.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that, David.
This may not mean anything, Tom, but because I've been looking at because I've always felt different a little bit, right? So now I found out, talked to some people that I don't know if they know what they're talking about. I got 2 M's in my palms.
Okay.
And the people tell you that's really rare, and it's kind of a sensitive type person that's in tune to, same type thing with the O negative. Now I've got Neanderthal DNA.
Yeah, so do I.
Found that out. And you know what I mean? And so I asked Brock, like, what are the odds of somebody having this, and this? It come up to 0.00047% of those 3 combinations, loosely, of that happening. And so now I don't know what it all means, but when I said that in my first chat, we had like 70 people in there.
Wow. And
the huge majority of the people were like RH negative. It's like, and what I said was, now y'all people are not, don't, once we figure out why we're connected, we can find out why you're connected to us, because you're connected to us. See, so don't feel left out. Because I heard, well, I'm not, I'm a whatever. And I'm like, don't, we got to have a starting point.
If you were to estimate, Roger, how many people do you like percentage wise? We'll just use like because I don't know much about the Eastern world. We'll use like the Western world, say Canada, U.S., maybe England, parts of France and Germany. How many percent of people, if you were to ask them if they've ever had any type of experience, would you think there would be?
Okay, so that's a loaded question. How many would
like percentage wise? Like, yeah, well, there's a difference between admission, acceptance, and saying. But if you were to ask them, how many do you think? Maybe what? 40%?
Okay, I think there's a couple of variables, and one of them is probably location of where you're asking them. If you're asking in front of a bunch of people, but if you're private, but if we're one-on-one and we're talking to them, I told Greg this today. You know, we hang around each other. A lot of us do. That's in chat. We hang around each other, and we get this perception that there's a lot of us. And then when you get out in the real world and you start talking about this stuff, people look at you like, "What?" And then you're not. It's not as many as I thought it might be. So if I had to put a percentage on it, I mean, golly, out of
It's
a
just
hundred.
it's hypothetical, of course. I
Yeah,
just
I
want to
know,
put it,
and that's what
yeah.
I think it's very low. I mean, maybe 1 out of 100.
I've seen something like what I think it's way higher than that. I would suggest it's every bit of 30-40%. Like
Well,
if
and you
just
could be right.
it's just this thing, like we're on a special little niche over here in this weird wacky corner of YouTube, right? But I think
Yeah.
the regular, Joe and Sally taxpayer, whatever you want to call them, somewheres in their life, they've seen their grandmother after she passed, or had a dream of her after they passed,
Oh, yeah,
or that they felt that cold sensation, or they feel
yeah,
the energy change when they enter this person's house. Everyone has something. But for some reason, these O negative people who have the O negative factor in their blood, here's that link, guys. I guess I can grab it later and throw it in the show notes. But there's the link. Pam, is that on my channel, or is that on? So you can search your channel as my channel, or is it on Magicals or Jim's? So yeah. I think it's a lot more, and I think these particular shows, being in the little corner that we are, we're like happy if there's people who you can literally do a show on YouTube and you talk about balloons and makeup or something, and you can have like 10,000 subscribers in like 6 months.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
But if you want to talk about the things that really interest, like that spark the mind, because it's kind of a couple things coming together, like psychologically, it's the unknown. Or what about the unknown? It fascinates us because us as humans want to know,
Right.
whatever that
And,
is.
and what's
Yeah.
helped is like the ancient alien shows and the Finding Bigfoot shows and the ghost hunter shows and all that. So people will talk about it a little more. And I do little experiments, like if I'm wearing a Bigfoot hat or something out in public and talking to somebody, and they'll notice it, and I'm like, "Well, have you ever seen one?" I don't believe in that mess. I don't believe in that. I said, "Well, have you ever had a ghost experience?" Now I'm gonna tell you this: almost every time I've asked that question, I've got a bite. So you're right. I have
Almost.
to go back, and because I'm thinking about everything
Yeah,
together.
no.
Yeah,
I didn't mean that you'd have to do. I didn't know that we'd have to do like some calculations. I was just going with a gut feeling.
I get you. But I like to be a little bit thorough, to put a little thought into it. But you're right. If you think about it, the ghost end of it, the paranormal, uh, it could be 80%, and it depends on who you're talking to. But that's I said. So you're talking like one of my buddies. You got a Bigfoot show? What the hell? You got a Bigfoot show? I'm like, yeah. You've seen a Bigfoot? Yeah. I said, dude, you have told me you saw a 3-foot troll standing in the hallway one night when you went to go to the bathroom, and I didn't say anything. And I'm talking about a flesh and blood creature, and you're giving me crap. He said, "Oh, I did, didn't I?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he said, "But that house was haunted." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you."
Oh my god! All right, here's the
And,
link, guys, for the RH negative one. There is it's on the Fisher Spans the Night Watch channel.
and
I'll give it to you, Roger, afterwards when I find it.
but
That was
but
funny. I was thinking like maybe it's an old girlfriend of his.
yeah,
My brain just goes there.
yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. That's my weird brain.
No,
There's a
hey,
psychological thing in liking this stuff. It's like it's a new frontier that's always kind of been there, but no one talks
yeah,
about because of its
right,
implications. And what those implications may be could be religious, could be God, it could be a fight between good and evil, it could be it could be aliens intervening from we don't know what it is, but there's something about this
yeah.
whole shenanigans, for lack of a better word, that is
And,
exciting and exhilarating because us as a species want to know. And it's
well,
scary.
and you've
Some of
heard
it.
people. I've heard people all my life mention, because I've hung around some people that other people thought were weird. But I've heard this word awakening for a long time, and I feel like we're kind of been in it for a while now, and
Yes.
and there's more ways to reach the public with some of this, because I'm gonna tell you firsthand. First off, I don't know anything about this for sure. All I know is what's happened to me. So I
Right.
can tell you what happened to me, and if you can educate me on why it's happened to me, I'll listen to you. But I'm not trying to prove
Yeah, but
anything because I don't have a picture of a ghost. You know,
you seem
I
like
didn't.
a cool and collective guy. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because of your analytical brain. Like I asked you a question, you kind of went, I'm starting to see a little bit of your personality. So like when you were, I don't think that if I remember it, I remember me and Roger before guys to break the fourth wall actually had an interview a while back. And I just asked him to come on again. That's normally how I do it. I have someone on a regular show and I feel comfortable with them. Boom, you're on a live show with me.
Yeah.
And I don't remember you saying you were too afraid about the Bigfoot encounter. You were more just kind of like, what is this? What I'm seeing? But like the other encounters, like the UFO or the ghost counter, were you fearful at any point? Did you like? Because I remember when my poltergeist stuff happened, it freaked me out. So I just want to know.
Well, okay. Since you mentioned poltergeist, the only time I ever had anything touch me, and it wasn't just a light touch, like because like I said, if I'm telling you a story, this definitively happened. So we were in a hotel, my daughter and I. We were on a vacation where her mom and stepdad were in one hotel. I was in another. We spent alternating days, with her, and I was going to take her home. She was going to ride home with me. So I worked at nights. I worked 10, 12 hours at night. So at 3 a.m. I was up. I was just laying there and I was
Right.
on my back, and I'm thinking, we're in the Appalachians, we're in Smoky Mountains, and I'm like, wonder which way we need to go to the scenic route or the quick route, right? So I'm
Mhm.
planning it out, and I'm laying there with my feet up. The cover, this is important. The cover is over my feet. I'm laying there and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna let her sleep to at least 6 o'clock,
Right.
and then we get an early start, whatever. And Tom, something, it felt like a thumb, and that finger right there grabbed me by the big toe on my left foot, clamped down on it, and snatched my leg off the bed, and the cover did not move. So it went
Wow.
through the cover, and but I'm not thinking about that at that point. It's pitch dark in there. I came up, turned the light on, and ready to fight. Right, somebody done broke in the room. They're fixing to rob us. They're fixing to do whatever. My daughter's in here. I had her sleeping close to the wall. I was closer to the door, and I thought somebody had come in, and we were about to have to handle the situation. Turn the lights on. She wakes up, and I'm looking everywhere. I cleared the room, so to speak, and I don't know what scared me more. I don't know if that sudden something grabbing me and snatching it, thinking it was somebody, and then
Right.
afterwards knowing it wasn't
Wasn't
anybody. It
anybody?
was, it was
Right.
actually scarier. And I said, she said, "What are we doing, Daddy?" I said, "We're getting up early. You're going to take a shower. We're going to leave early, get some breakfast." And
Yeah,
I didn't tell her
let's
all that
catch the
stuff.
morning wind. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't tell
I
her.
had that too, man. Whenever that was came up between the bed and the wall and put its hand on my chest, it made
Mm,
me jump out of the bed. There's nobody there. It felt like a whole hand just went right
right,
on my chest. And like,
right.
and I was 8 years old, man. The shit it could be terrifying. There's people who
Yeah,
fake it too. There's people who do that, Roger. We know this. We
yeah,
don't do that on our shows. We try to vet the people as best we can,
yeah,
but it's kind of hard to know everybody 100% before you get on. It's
yeah,
just the way it goes. But the real occurrences are when you can see that people just that the color go out of their face and they're just kind of in shock or they've seen
yeah.
something. It's quite compelling. It's compelling to listen to, especially if it's a good storyteller, but it's also compelling to be there or just to try to understand it. And it's the damnedest thing. It's the damnedest thing.
And I have
Sure.
several stories that I could tell people, but I don't know if I was in that uh, almost waking up stage of sleep, and you know what I mean. But
Oh yeah.
this one here, I know for a fact I was awake. I mean, I mean, and I wished I didn't have that story because we went back the next year, and I told them, I called, I said, yeah, we're going to stay here again. I said, don't put me in room 110, whatever you do, I don't want to be in there. And they're like, well, why not? I said, because I had a ghost grab me by the toe the day I was leaving, and I don't even be on the same floor.
Yeah,
So
you're not eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch Roger by his toe
Yeah.
anymore. You're not in there.
Yeah,
You go.
I'm
That was
not
quick.
volunteering. So,
If he hollers and leaves the room, let him go.
yeah, hey,
Dude,
it,
it's quite frightening, but I really do think my sister, she actually is even more like she was there during that incident, but she's had even more than I've had. And I had her on, a long time ago. She don't like to be on camera so much, but
yeah.
it seems to run in my family too. Like my mom and dad are kind of like old school, they're older than you, Roger, of course, and they're like, da 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 da. But I think even the old time people seen stuff.
Yeah.
Like they just, like they came back from the war. It's kind of the same mentality, they just kind of, head down, get to the factory afterwards, have a little bit of beer, and just, it was a different time.
Well, think about what I just said.
What's that?
And it just hit me as you're saying that. My daughter didn't hear that story for 10 years when it happened.
Right.
So to protect her mind, and I didn't drop that on her what just happened. I made up a scenario like, oh, I think we're going as a dad. So if you think about the older people, I've heard I've had Bigfoot reports. The people don't want to be on. They don't. But like one from this county said, my dad was a tough old man, and he was mean. And he came in one day. He was like he'd seen a ghost. He sat down and ate supper, and he didn't say much the rest of that night. And the only thing he said to us was like, "Y'all, if you play in the yard, don't get close to those woods, close to the back fence."
Right.
And they thought that was odd. And then so later they started finding tracks. Man tracks they called it, but barefoot. And then they had just moved in here in the early 70s, and the girl, she was a little girl at the time. She said they started school, and she saw her neighbors. I don't know if they got on the bus or whatever, but they were at school and they were talking. And she said, "Yeah, there's a hairy wild man that lives in these woods over there behind all of us, and just stay away from him, because he's mean. He wasn't mean where he hurt somebody. He just wanted to be by himself or whatever."
Uh-huh.
And they found tracks all the time. They heard screams. She was explaining to me, I don't know what they sound like. But it's just like you have a sound bank in your head as you go through life of what things are, and you identify what things make sound. Somebody might be doing something. You might could tell a piece of metal they picked up or a piece of wood. You might hear it's a hardwood or a softwood that somebody's hammering on. It's just you have this bank of sounds, and when you have farmers and people that grew up around animals, which happens a lot, talk about. I don't know what that was. It sounded like a bull at first, but that's not what it was. And
right. Those people are discounted by people, outsiders. Those people are more knowledgeable about what's going on around them because they've had that connection with that area as well as the ground, the soil, the animals longer than even generations upon generations. Even Native Americans who once inhabited the region had stories. And for like the scientific community and people sitting at home eating their Doritos to snub their nose at it, it's just it's kind of a bit disrespectful, and at the same time they just kind of they're disconnected from this because of their circumstances, in a high-rise building in New York or whatever. It's weird.
And you're right. It's taken me a while. But when I realized that it was one of the best things that ever hit me, these people, they're whatever, we know so much about some of this stuff now, and I'm including you, Tom. I haven't watched all your shows, but you study this stuff. You talk to people. You interview people.
Yes.
You've had they're the uneducated person in the conversation. So don't come at me like that. I mean,
right.
That's just I respect your opinion, but I'm not going to have a conversation with you and try to teach you anything because you don't want to learn. If you come to me like wanting to learn, that's a different thing. But you're right.
There's like extremes. Like for example, it's not an extreme. Like I would consider your encounter, like not even it's never run of the mill when you're running across a Bigfoot. Never. It's something that scientifically doesn't exist. You've seen what you saw when hunting, in the field that went up at the end there. I remember
Yeah.
a little bit with the curve in it. And I
Right.
remember. And that's kind of, they have different classes of encounters. I guess it's like class B or whatever they call it. I don't know. That's the one where if you're as a hunter, you see this thing walking the way it moves and it doesn't see you, or maybe it thinks you're there and wants to show itself, like we kind of discussed. That's kind of like, okay, these things are flesh and blood. These things are an animal like anything else. And then you talk to people like, say, for example, Ginsabricus in British Columbia. These things are writing and like leaving hieroglyphs and like taking his stuff and then putting on the trail for him to find. And like when he lost it, lost time. And there's so much to take in for a person who kind of goes into this, like who shows an interest. So I think the only thing to do with that is to like go ahead and look at it as much as you can. It's okay to have an opinion, but like I would say it's impolite at the least to go up to somebody and experience it like yourself and say, you didn't see that. That's not right.
And here's what they do. And Amanda mentioned this on the show the other night. She's like, you can tell by their body language. David, I'll send you checks in the mail. You can tell she said, you can tell by their body language. Come into the museum and they see a Bigfoot museum and they got that body language like, yeah, I'm fixing to mess with these folks, So you kind of, and what I always say is that person that might be interested, but they want to have that 50-year conversation in 3 minutes. They want, I'm like, I can't do that. I can't in 3 minutes tell you what all I know and what all I found out and what all I've done the digging and the research and the experiences that we've had and stuff that's happened. I can't do that.
Right. Go check out my channel here. It's a little more spread out.
It's not happening. You're right. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's my channel. If you want to start and look, the evidence is there, and there are, we allude to other places, like you said, Tom, to go to other websites. Hey, you need to do this. You need to watch this documentary. Hey, you don't need to, you need to, these guys right here or gals they're right on the money with it. They're,
Yeah, I started watching Small Town Monsters, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
I just started watching them, and they did this whole LBL, and I was showing my girlfriend, and she was like, what's the LBL? I'm like, you know what the LBL is, dude? And then like you show her it, and then like none of it's subtitled in Spanish, so I'm pausing like every 5 minutes to be like, okay, this is what's happening. And she's like, whoa, there's cemeteries everywhere in there, and they got the people got forced out of their property. So there's things that I even learned, doing this for about 2 years now with the other one combined. In of course my whole life, it's like you always find out something, and to expect if you're in a museum and you're like the proprietor of a museum, like I didn't know there was Bigfoot museums, to be honest with you. Now I do. Amanda, thank you so much for doing that.
Is she in here?
Hard to do. No, I don't know. I don't think she's here, but just I'm just kind of shouting out.
Maybe lurking. Yeah. Well, there, we could talk about so much because there's so many connections, and then some of us are trying to figure out, and we may not ever figure out why they're connected to us, why I'm connected with Greg, and why. And I'm gonna tell you, the people that I talk to privately that have these encounters, but they're in the areas where they have multiple encounters, and not just, you hear them fighting out in the field, back, fighting over some food or something. It sounds like a bunch of monkeys trying to kill each other. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. No, hey, but they'll tell you, a lot of them will tell you privately that they feel like they're more like us than like monkey. So
yes.
Yeah. So
yes, there's a lot of people, they have a lot of characteristics. They'll remember you, like the people who do the gifting, they'll remember you and make it so that they know that it's you, or you know what I mean, like in a way where they go, oh, they did this, therefore they knew it was me, and they know that I come out there. Like it's a weird thing that happens, because some people, like Daryl, like I always mention, because he's just has such great great encounters, great encounters for a person who enjoys listening to him.
Yeah.
And some people create like these like in-depth almost human type relationships with these entities, these creatures, whatever. Like you and me are basically have our feet in both worlds. We talked about this before. Let's see what happens. And it's I can understand how they would say, these things are almost like us, but just a slightly different version or iteration of us.
Well,
But they're the masters of hide and seek, supposedly, I guess.
if y'all in chat, the ones that don't know, the last show, the second to last show we did, we interviewed Mr. Ernie Davy from Northeast.
Oh yeah, I had him on recently too.
So his story with the communication and the sign language and the blue eyes and kind of a respect thing, because he snuck up on it, and it's like, wait, where'd you come from? And
how good is a hunter? How good of a hunter is Ernie? Ernie's a bad man.
And I've heard stories where the big, because a lot of them have been full camo bow hunting in a tree stand way up above, and I don't think these things are used to humans being in trees, and they have different reactions. I had one guy I knew. He's not around the Bigfoot world anymore. He quit doing his shows and stuff, but he is one of the most intense encounters. And he had the scope, he had the crosshairs on the thing that's right here below his stand, and he's former military, supposedly, I think he said, and he was about to pull the trigger, and just looked at him like, "You better not." It had emotion in his face. He said when it had the motion in his face, he couldn't pull the trigger. Then when
I know who that is. I think I know who that is.
Yeah, we can talk about that privately.
Yeah, we can talk that offline. I know who we're talking about. I think.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I actually co-hosted with him. Got my start with him.
Okay, yeah, he's a cool guy. I love the guy.
Yeah, if we're talking about the same guy, he kind of got in a little bit of trouble and had to stop what he's doing.
I think you're right. I think we are talking about the same guy. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to put people's business out there, but I have people ask me all the time, where'd he go? But so you get these conversations. Thank you, Twisted. I know you were there, but when you, Tom, when you have these people telling these stories, when Ernie kind of started getting stressed and kind of got misty eyed a little bit, me and Amanda both. I was trying to hide it. I teared up a little bit. I'm like, ooh, how am I gonna hide this? I can't wipe my eyes, So I was getting into it.
Here's the funny thing. I had him on the original show a long time ago, and he's always super active in the Eye of Jupiter Facebook group, and he's always liking and leaving remarks and putting up videos and ideas and pictures and things that he. And I was thinking, I gotta have him on again. And when I had him on again, I did it in a live video. It wasn't just audio. And when you see him discuss the way that went down, you can't help but to be like enthralled by his story. It is one of the most. It's intense, but in a different way. It's not like an aggressive intense. It's an intense like, whoa, this thing is communicating. Like I'm talking to this thing, and it's like, yeah, hi. It's incredible.
It's a story that makes you rethink what you thought, what your opinion was. It gives you more, maybe, insight on what they could be. Now, I'm of the opinion. I've got a lot of researchers that I know has been doing this for 40, 50 years, and they'll all say that there's at least 4 different types of these things, depending on where you're at and their body build and their, I would guess, their brains also. And if you raise a dog and you throughout your few years you're doing it, a certain percent are going to be crazy or evil or mean or whatever. They're just going to be wired different.
Right.
So I don't, and the same way with us. So I don't think it would be any different with them. So, but yeah, I mean, and so talking about it, then you wonder, you see things out in the woods, and I don't think everything's connected to Bigfoot, but I feel like areas are ripe for a lot of different things, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Whether it's what's underground, it's the energy, it's the minerals in the ground. It's like the Chapel Hill Light. I was scared of it because of the legend that went along with it. And when I saw this thing, lightning the year before.
Mm-hmm.
I won't get into that, but I got a too close to look at ball lightning. I thought it was trying to get me again, and transformer blew up, and and it blinded me. But it wasn't a like in the dark blind. It was for probably 15 seconds, and my vision started coming back in. It was so bright. I thought it damn. And my buddy sitting in, I'm driving, and we're sitting still, and I had the steering wheel, and I'm like, Tony, can you see? He said, I can't see nothing. I'm like, oh no, because we were looking directly at this thing when it blew up, and
Wow.
in the dark, at night. So
Yeah.
anyway, so we go to the train tracks, and we've heard all these stories, and I'm on the right side of the truck. I'm not driving. I'm around 17 ish, and it was a probably like an October night, clear sky, no cool outside. It's comfortable, and I'm looking at down here, and I'm more worried about people messing with us, scaring us, and that's what I'm worried about. So I'm got my head on the swivel. I'm looking behind the truck, whatever, the lights are off, and I'm thinking this is going to be like last time. We're not going to see anything. Well, all of a sudden, at probably 5 o'clock, I notice a light, and I look over at it, and there's hardwoods, probably a 50, 60, 70 yard flat. And then you come out of the hardwoods, and there's probably 20 yards to the tracks. But you have to come up and up the elevation and get up on top of the tracks. It's elevated. Now we're sitting up on top on the tracks, actually, which was dumb. We could see the train for miles if it was coming. So when I saw this thing, I uttered, I think I didn't say it loud. I said, "Oh, there it is." So they're starting to look around me and look, it's two more in the truck, and they're having to look around me, and I lock in on this thing and immediately recognized that it looked just like the ball lightning that I saw. Okay. Now you think about this. This is how I know people are lying when they say they saw the light. And you think about this. Now, guy, whatever, but I saw this. So this is what makes me know that this is what it does. An orb is round. You take a globe, put it in your hand. Now, if that globe is emitting um, a really strong light that looks like electrical blue white, that light is going in every direction. It's not going forward. It's not going behind it. It's going in every direction. It's under it, all around.
Is it like a bluish white light?
Yes, sir. It's like electrical, like
I've seen it before. Then I've seen it before.
Well, if you've seen, there's a fake video out there that shows something coming across the tracks, and it has lightning coming from it or whatever. It looks similar to that, but the thing was there was no sound with this thing. There were nothing shooting out from it. If you see that video, that's what I'm describing. But when it was in the woods in the pitch dark,
yeah,
it illuminated the woods. And the trees that were closest to me, still dark shadows. The trees on the other side were lit up. The trees behind it were lit up. The ground was lit up. Going up through the limbs was lit up. And this thing is moving. It's moving. So as it's moving, these shadows are dancing. They're going everywhere because this light source is moving.
Right, with all the branches and leaves. Yeah.
Everywhere. Up, down, sideways. And I'm looking at it, and I really doing. I'm in awe of this thing, and I'm almost baseball size. It came out of the woods, and it wasn't so smooth. It came up, and it went up, and when it got to the track, when that ball entered the center of those two tracks, it went. It was like a magnetic pull. It shook.
Yeah.
And it stopped. It started gliding towards us. And I'm like, dude, get off the tracks. Get off the tracks. And there was no sound. And this thing was gliding just like a use the magnetic, the lift, right? Well, I learned this later. But something had pulled it up to the track. Some force, some gravitational pull, something pulled it to those tracks. It was attracted to them, and it did its thing, and maybe came 25 yards towards us. Had pulled it to the tracks. Something was manipulating it from the woods, and it leaned and it ripped from the tracks and went down the slope again and went into the woods, kind of bouncing off the trees, and just went. It didn't disappear. It was so far back I couldn't see it. So that was the first orb I'd ever seen, and people were talking about ghosts, and they were talking about paranormal stuff like that, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. I've seen this before, and it was natural. It was electrical, and so I didn't know what it could be. I said, it could have been friction built up from the previous train that came through. Could it be minerals and stuff in the ground? Could it be? And I don't know what to think about it. Then I saw years later a documentary on some lights, orbs that come up out of the mountain river, and it's well documented. And these scientists like that scientists were like, that can't be true. Let's go check it out. I'm gonna butcher this, but this is what they said. This river was in small. It come through the river canyon or whatever. So they were looking at it, and they actually saw the orbs come up out of the water and just lift and then just kind of dissipate. Well, they were like, what can cause this? They saw it with their own eyes. They tested the soil on one side of the river and the soil on the other side of the river and the water. They had lithium, sulfur, and some other thing that was natural that created this big battery. So having natural energy coming up out of it. Now, I'm not saying that's what all of it is, because one of them I saw was within 20 yards of us, 10 feet up in a tree. My wife, we watched it for 20 minutes, and we kept changing. It was pitch dark. This looked more like plasma, and it wasn't round. It was more hot dog shape, maybe twice as long as a hot dog. And it was changing shape just like that, slowly, very slowly, but it was definitely pulsating in a slow, and the light wasn't electrical. It was more yellowish white. And it was, and there wasn't light emanating as strong as this other. I didn't see light from it. You would have think I would have been able to leave or the limb it was close to if it was. If it was, but it wasn't.
Right.
And that was the difference between those two orbs that I saw. And we've seen the electric blue that we can't explain. And it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it could be. I just know what I've seen. And when I see stuff, I try to lock in on it and remember as much details. Greg talks about this. He's in law enforcement. I wanted to be a detective, and the way my mind works, if me and you are out doing something, Tom, and I see something unfold in front of me, I might lock in on one important section of it and really get that detail down. And then when I remember it 10 years later, it's like replaying like a movie in my head. So now I can't pick up on stuff I didn't focus on, but whatever I focused on, it sticks with me. So try to do.
There's sorry, man, but there's I've heard of an orb one time that had like leaking lava coming off of it. There's so many like different types of those too, man. It's just it's a wild thing, dude. But we gotta slowly wrap this up because right after this is my buddy. The Magical Journey. I'm just trying to find a way to shoehorn that in. It always feels weird. You're having a great conversation, and I gotta go.
Oh, that's fine.
I gotta make sure my buddy gets this love and time over there. So right after the show, guys, go over to the Magical Journey podcast and check out his channel. He's gonna have a really cool show. He always does. He's a good friend of mine, and he's gonna kill it like always, dude. Okay. Yeah, I think you and we could actually talk about fishing lures if we wanted to, or buck knives. For hours on end, dude. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Please let everyone know, through my format, the eye guys go over to Roger's channel. What's the name of your channel again? And how do they
Squatch,
find you, buddy?
yeah, it's easy. Squatchin Holler. You 71. You go back, and tomorrow when the live chat shows up, and you can scroll through and click on the links. Right now, you can go. You could click on my name if I said something, but it's easy to find. But then from there, um, you know, it's the TikTok thing and Facebook or whatever. I've got stuff on there too. So y'all look me up, and I may send a link, or Tom, if you can share it. It's we want to grow because we want to reach people,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to reach that person that might can help me with my questions also. So
Yeah, we need to be able to share information amongst one another, and these might be the conduits for doing so. I've had someone contact me personally about help on something, and I thought of somebody else, and then I asked that person, "Could you help him?" And he goes,
yeah,
"Yeah, contact me. I'll contact him." I was just an intermediary between one person who had the information and one person who needed the information. Both
yep,
great people, and I was able
yep.
to bridge that gap, and that was incredible. Thank you so much, Mark. You know who you are. And yeah, I don't want to put them out there and what actually happened. It's all private, but thank you, Mark, for your help. Yeah, dude, I'm running around here in circles trying to figure everything. I thank you for all the new people in the chat today. You guys are awesome. Thanks for coming over from knowing Roger. Thank you, Roger, for the help for promoting the channel. And
Anytime.
thank you so much for being on, dude. Once in a while we should do this and we just catch up on things and see what you're doing over there on your channel and some of the research you do, because Roger is also a bit of a researcher as well. So it's pretty cool stuff.
I appreciate it, y'all, and it was fun. And I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, man, you never do, never do, never do. We still got 9 minutes to go before you can go over and check out Magical Journeys podcast. I appreciate it, buddy, and let's keep in touch, okay?
Yes, sir.
Talk to me in the
Yes,
green
sir.
room. Talk to me in the green room. All right.
Okay.
Remember, guys, we are the eye. We are aware. Love you all, and have a wonderful weekend.